How's it going, guys? So I figured we'd go ahead and work on creating a realistic scene inside of Unity. Um, there's going to be a few things, and this is going to be a multiple part tutorial. In this first part, I'm just going to be setting everything up, talking a little bit about the lighting. The lighting is what's really going to make everything happen. But the first thing we want to do is come up here to Lightings tab and make sure Auto Generate is unchecked. You're also going to want the baked global illumination lighting mode. You're going to want to turn that off along with real-time global illumination. So we're just using the default skybox for the time being. Now, one thing I have done is I've already imported standard assets. That's going to have a few things in it that we can use, such as trees, grass, and things like that. I will also be importing my own materials in here, or my own textures. So we'll also be able to edit those a little bit, and you can see how those will work. So the first thing we want to do is come up to Game Object, 3D Object, Terrain. From there is what we'll do is we'll go back to the Inspector tab, and if you don't have the Lighting tab up here, just come up to Windows, you'll go down to Rendering, and it's going to be Lighting Settings. I'm also going to talk a little bit about occlusion culling as well, so this will help render your scene, make it run faster. Once you've selected your terrain, click on this gear icon. This is your terrain settings. We're going to come down here. Terrain width will just set to 128, and the length will be 128. Terrain height will be 200. So I'm going to press W on my keyboard so I can move this to the offset of its position. So the first thing we want to do, actually I want to talk about this, neighboring terrains. So you'll see that these little boxes have popped up around it. Whenever you have this selected, is what this allows you to do is click on one of these boxes, and it allows you to build terrains very quickly and easily. The nice thing about this little feature is if we come over here to Paint, I'm just going to leave the brush the way it is. I'm going to actually change this to Razor Lower Terrain. If you do this, you can see it all actually like molds together. Whereas if we just come up to Game Object, and we come down to 3D Object, Terrain, and I'm just going to use the same settings I had before, which was 128, 128, 200, and then I'm just going to move this terrain right into position right here. I know it's not dead on even, but this will give you a good idea of what I'm talking about. So if we click on Raise and Lower Terrain and we do this, yeah, it does, I'm trying to think, it does match over. The only issue with this is if you import this, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Basically, this is the best I can give you. So yeah, you can come over here and do this, but unless you have multiple terrains selected, it's not going to just match over smoothly. So if I come over here and do this, you can see this actually meshes right over to my terrain, whereas this, it causes issues. That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm actually going to undo all of that, and I'm going to click on my terrain right here. I'm going to delete that. I'm actually come over here to Set Height, and I'm going to hold down Shift and click, and then I'm going to change my brush size a little bit larger, make it way larger. I'm just going to undo all that. So the first thing I want to do is, let me go ahead and create a terrain here, so this way we're working with an actual grid plane. We're going to make mountains down here in this corner, or actually the first thing I need to do is let me go ahead and create an empty, and this is going to be called Terrain Main, and all of my terrain objects will be put inside of this game object. So this game object, we're actually going to lift it up 20 units, or roughly 20 units. We're not going to make it exact, or I'm sorry, we don't want to go up, we want to go down. There we go. Let me see, let me move it up to about here. So the purpose of this is we actually want to select our terrain, and we're going to come in here, and we're just going to set the height. Let's see, if we set to 200, so we're going to set the height to, set to 50. Then we'll click on, I would say flatten, but we don't want to do that. We actually want to come in here, make the opacity 100, and we'll just change the brush size to whatever. So we're actually just going to come across. Let me go ahead and increase the brush. Oh, it won't let me do it. Okay. So this should be flattening out here pretty quick. Yeah, there it goes. So this is the only downside about having a real high distance, is you get this slowing. As you can see, my computer's already hating me. I'm probably down to something. It's just a ridiculous speed. So I'm actually just going to delete those. I'm going to click on this terrain, and come on. I'm just going to flatten it up from here. In fact, I can just click on flatten, and there we go. So is what I want to do here is, now if you want to do the terrain neighbors, you can do that. Actually, it's not that hard. You'll run into this issue, so you'll still have to kind of tweak that a little bit. But I'll touch base on that just a little bit more later on. For now, I'm actually going to change my brush size to 50. Nope, that's still too big. Let me go ahead and change it to 10. So is what I want to do. In fact, I'm just going to start duplicating these. I just got to be careful when I am editing them. There we go. So is what I want it to do. I have no idea if this is going to work. Nope, I didn't think it would. And I'll select these. Just move these over right there. 1 pixel, come on. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. So is what I want to do. This right here will be, let's go ahead and set this as lake. This right here will be set as forest. This right here, let's go ahead and set this as mountains. And then lastly, beach, desert. There we go. So, if this one's going to be a lake, is what we need to do is let's go ahead and go into raise or lower. So, with your terrain tool, your paintbrush tool, I'm going to go over these a little bit. I actually need to lower my opacity. Let me go ahead and change my brush size to 25. So, if I hold down Shift and do this, you can see that we get a, one, it's lowering the surface. But 2, it's doing it where there's actually a fall off on this brush. And so that can become very, very useful. If we click on these, where the white is, that's going to be the strongest point, and where the black is, that's the weakest point. So if I come over here, you can see that with having a having like a blotchy blob on it, I guess you would say, it's actually giving it some indentions. So all I'm going to do real quickly is I'm just going to lower this down. And I know this doesn't look the prettiest right now, but I will actually go in and clean it up some. So we have done that. So let me go ahead and just lower this a little bit more. And I'm actually multi-clicking right now. And so we actually want to give it a little bit. Let me go ahead and change this to 40. Let's go ahead and hold down Shift. We're just going to go around the edges real quickly. Oh yeah, because I duplicated them. That's right. That's my bad, y'all. Let me go ahead and click on the lake, and I'm just going to go into neighboring terrains. There we go. And so let me go into brush. I'm going to go to set height. Wrong brush. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. I just can't think of what it would be, honestly. But that is alright, because this is actually just going to be a real quick and simple tutorial. Normally, whenever I would do this, I'd actually, trying to think, I would actually do it with, or actually, wait a minute. I think I can, nope, cannot. That sucks. I was hoping maybe I could select them all and do it, but you can't. But that's alright. That is alright. Another alternative you could do, is create a flat plane, and wherever 0 is, meaning the base of your terrain, that is usually what I would do to tell me that that's going to be like ocean and whatnot. But it's no big deal. The only nice thing about this tutorial is that there's not going to be any C# scripting at all. We are literally looking at the game art side of things. Alright, so this one right here, in fact I'm going to move them all inside this game object. So this one right here, I think we said that this was going to be forest. So I'm just going to change the brush size to 40. And I'm actually going to go to, let's see, raise and lower. I'm going to click on this little doodad. Actually, I'm going to change it to 80. And the opacity needs to be 2.5. So click once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll just come back over here and do that a little bit more. Okie dokie. Alright, that's looking better. So I'm going to click on this, or actually I think this one will work out even better. I'm just going to lightly paint in different areas. And the purpose of this is I have never seen a forest that was perfectly flat. I'm not going to lie, I just haven't seen it. So I'm not going to add too much. I'm going to lift it up right here a little bit. And the purpose of that is this is where our mountains will start, right about here. So now I'm actually going to grab this. Let me change the opacity to 20 so I can lift it up a little bit faster. There we go. Let me click over here. And now is what I want to do is I want to select this one. Alright, let's see, where are you at? Nope, don't want that one. I guess we're just going to use this one, no biggie. So now I'm just randomly clicking. Alright, that should be good enough. I'm also going to randomly click in here just a little bit, not too much. Okay, so one thing I want to state real quick before we get too far into this, erosion. So water will actually run down here, and there's going to be like little divots that it's going to go into. So if we hold down Shift, let's see, right here it looks like it would do it, right about here. And I know these are like real deep crevices, but I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a second. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to change the brush size. I think that should be good. We're going to go to smooth height. So I'm just going to come over this real quick and fast, and this is not doing what I want it to do. So let me go back into raise and lower terrain. Let me see. Yeah, that's kind of doing it. It's just, I think I had my opacity up a little higher than what I should had. So that's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. My parents are a prime example of that the day I was born. Here we go. So I'm going to come back to this little tool right here. I'm just going to change the opacity to 3. And once again, I'm going to change the brush size. I'm going to say 15 this time. That should be good. So I'm just going to lightly click on some of these areas where water would gather. May need to change this to 8. Yeah, there we go. That's giving me the look I want. Okay. So this over here is going to be our ocean. And I'm going to change this to 40, and this is going to be 100. And so the ocean is just going to be right here. There we go. And so now is what we need to do is we need to change this to 40. and we're going to change this to 60. I'm just going to come over here and real gently pull this back. Okay, there we go. That doesn't look too terribly bad. I know oceans aren't going to fall off like that, but you know what? It's fine. In fact, I'm going to show you something really cool with this. So I'm going to go to Set Height, and I'm going to select this right here by holding down Shift and clicking. So this way is what I can do is come in here, crank this up, and just come in here and set all the height right here. So I'm going to show you something really cool that you can do with water. And one thing to keep in mind whenever you're working with these tools, it may never be perfect. Don't worry. I am always going back and constantly re-editing everything. So there we go. That's going to be our beachfront. Now I'm just going to come over here, and I'm just going to... It'd help if I had the correct tool selected. I'm just going to come through here and change this to 40. Nope, still too much. Change it to 10. There we go. So anyways, I'm constantly going back and forth and constantly changing different values. So don't worry about if something doesn't look right or you can't get it or whatever. Don't even sweat it. I mean, there are so many things that you'll see me doing that you're just going to look at and be like, well, I would have done it this way. I'm like, well, right now I'm sure you're watching this like, what are you talking about? I'm watching this to learn how you do it. But in the future, you're going to be like, well, I would have done this way. Now that I think about it, there is one thing I want to show you with lighting. Look how the lighting looks. Yeah, it looks decent, but if we come up here to project settings, is it project settings? I think it's project settings. Trying to remember. Yeah. So if you go to project settings and click on player, if you don't have your tab up there, just come up to general, and it's going to be where is it? Might be under edit. Yeah. So if you click up to edit and click on project settings, it'll bring you to this window. But right here on other settings, you're gonna, if this is what you see, just click on other settings. Go down right here where it says color space, changes from gamma to linear. Now this is going to take a while to compile, but it'll make the lighting look so much better. And now we wait. Okay, there we go. So you can see how the lighting actually got a lot softer. It wasn't as harsh as what it was before. So that is one thing I do want to mention. Now once you've made your terrain, you're happy with your terrain because it's a beautiful looking terrain. Let's go to texture. So right now we don't have any layers in here, but we definitely don't want to be walking on this grid-like pattern. That just sucks. So let me go into Edit Terrain. We're going to click on Add Layer. And let's go ahead and start with sand. Yeah. That's interesting. We have no... I could have sworn that this came with... could have sworn that this came with... characters, cross-platform. Environment, here we go. Terrain assets, and we have surface textures. Yeah, so we do have different... Oh, that's weird. Oh, create layer. Okay, so let's just type in sand. Better yet... Okay, screw it. You're actually going to need to do this with all of them. And man, I really wish you could just select one and go from there. But let's go to another add layer. We're going to type in grass. I keep doing add layer. You'll see why here in just a second. So let's go ahead and type in grass. We'll click on this. Edit terrain layers. Or actually, we don't need to worry about those right now. Now is what we need to do. So we need to click on this one. This one's going to be grass, and we're going to have this grass rocky a little bit, as well as a cliff as well. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to create layer. So we're going to type in cliff. There we go. Edit terrain layers. Let's go ahead and create a layer. And then we're going to type in grass. So we'll add that one. And then we'll create a layer, and then we're going to say grass again, and we'll do this one. And I know you can see the tiling, and it just looks terrible. I'm going to go over that. This one is going to be sand, so let's go ahead and add layer. Let's go and type in sand. Why do I keep doing that? Create layer, sand. There we go. And now finally we have our mountain, which this one will probably be 2 or 3. So let's go ahead and type in cliff. And then we'll go into create, and then we're going to type in grass rocky. And we're going to need one more, which is going to be the regular grass right here. And so now that we have all that set up, you can barely see the tiling on the sand. That's actually really interesting, but that is okay. So let's, we're going to need those for these as well. Let's see, we're going to need it over here, so let's go ahead and go into create. We're going to say cliff, and then we're going to say grass right there, and then we're just going to blend these two in with this, and we're actually going to do the same thing with this one. So let's go ahead and type in, actually no, I don't think we'll need that one, so we should be fine right there. So I'm going to click on this. Now you're going to want to set the opacity kind of low, because what I'm going to do is just start painting in here. So I'm just going to paint around this lake real quickly. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to change the opacity to 2. And we want to click on the sand. Now we're just going to start painting around here real quick. There we go. And so now you're probably wondering, well, how do you get rid of that tiling? Because this just looks terrible. Well, actually, we'll just go into create layer. Let's go ahead and type in cliff. No, not that one. Grass, this one. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to come in here. We're going to change the opacity to 1. I'm just going to lightly touch in different areas. Come on. There we go. And so after you've done that, let's go ahead and go into, that's not it. I'm trying to remember what it is. Yeah, it doesn't look too terribly bad, I guess. It doesn't look too terribly bad. I'm going to go over that just a little bit more. So we're going to, that's not it. Where are you at? Here we go. We'll expand this. So I'm going to talk about normal maps. And I'm going to get kind of close. So right now that actually doesn't look too bad. It looks decent, but not quite what we'd want. So what we need to do is we actually need to start applying normal maps. So the first normal map we're going to need, let's just type in sand. Ooh, it doesn't have one, so that is fine. We're going to duplicate that, and then we're going to click on the lake, and we're going to apply normal map. The reason why I have duplicated it, give it a second. Really, it didn't try to fix it or anything? Okay, that's fine. So normally whenever you try to do that, it will actually like throw an issue with it, like, no, we can't do this. So it didn't do it this time, which, oh, normal texture should be imported as normal map. Okay, there we go. So it did kind of do it. But there is a way that we can do this. Let's just create a quick material. And all I'm going to do is come down here to sand albedo 1. I'm going to bring it up to normal map, and it's going to give me an option to fix it now, which, there we go. And so now when we click on this, we actually have a normal map in there. And you can see a little bit of detail. It's not quite where I want it, so if we change the normal scale to 2, or is it going to be 0.1? I'm trying to remember. Let's change it to 5. Bring this up. There we go. Change it to 2. And we can actually see the material right here. as we're changing it. Here we go. So I'm actually probably going to say 20. There we go. That gave it some detail. So spectacular. If it's white, it's going to have a lot of highlights. If it's black, it's going to have very little highlights. We're actually going to want just a little bit on here, not too much. Now what we need to do is go through and do the same thing with these. So I believe grass has... type in normal. So we have cliff normals, but we don't have the other normals. So what we need to do is let's go ahead and type in grass, and or actually new material, and is what we're going to do is from here we're going to lock this inside the inspector so this will never change, and we're going to type in grass. We're going to bring this up here. Oh, wait, nope, we do not want to do that. So I'm going to duplicate that and duplicate that. And from here, I'm just going to get rid of the 1 and type in normal. And I'm going to do the same with this. Normal. Okay, there we go. So we're going to bring this up here, and then we'll click Fix Now. And then we'll bring this up here, and we'll click Fix Now. And we're going to do this with the sand as well, but instead of doing it the way I've shown you, we're going to type in normal because we've already done it with this. And so now we need to type in cliff. We already have the normals for that, so that's fine. Alright, and as you can see, we do have a little bit of spectacularness. If we come and click on this, I don't really like... I like the shininess it has, but it's almost like it's too much. So if we come in here... was it these? Which one was it? Oh, we edited the sand, so actually we need to come in here. Change that right there, and we're just going to type in normal. And so we should have our, let's see, it should be the grass heels right here. And then we're just going to change this to 20. That's going to be too much, but that is okay. So let's go ahead and change this to 1. There we go. Actually, I think the reason why, because I had sand selected earlier, and I just had my head up my rear, so that's why I didn't really even notice it. Yeah, that actually looks a lot better. So we go ahead and change the spectacularness just a little bit. Probably right about there. Come in here and we're going to do the same thing, which is rocky. And we're going to undo that. Put it right here, and we're going to keep that one the same. So if we come in here, let's take a look at our sand roll. Oh yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with that. Okay. So now we get to do the same thing with this. If we come in here, these should be okay. This is the cliff. Where are you at? Cliff normals. Here we go. We'll leave that one alone. That looks pretty good. Come in here. Boy. I'm sorry, guys. I can't seem to stop coughing. Alright. I'm going to leave this one as a 1. I'm going to leave the sand as a 1. Oh, missed one. Sand. There we go. And that should be it. So, now we get to start coming in here. We're going to kind of paint on this. Let's see, let me change my brush size. 20. The opacity will be 100. And the reason for this is I want this to all be grass. So, now that I've gotten that started, I'm going to go and change this to 80. There we go. And so now I'm going to change the brush. Actually, I'm going to keep the brush size the same, but I'm going to change this to 1.5. I'm going to keep it set on this one. So now I'm just going to kind of come in here and quickly do some brush strokes. Nothing too crazy. Throw a little bit of sand in there and lighten it up some. Come in here, throw some rocks in here. Come back over here, paint over those. So one thing I'd like to say real quickly, we have this layer right here, and I actually just now started thinking about this. If you have this and you throw the texture map on this, and let's just change the size of this to 4x4, and then you come in here and keep this the same, whenever you paint, you're going to start getting a real unique pattern, or not pattern, but you'll start noticing that your what's this? The textures are not repeating as much. That's the word. So we're going to click on this now, make sure that these both, and it does not. So we're going to set this. I'm going to change this one, and you actually don't want to do 4x4 and 2x2 because those numbers can repeat real easily. So I like to try and create an offset. So 5x5. I notice the soonest that they'll repeat will be 10. If you do 7 and 7, the soonest those will repeat will be 14. So that means 14 units is when they'd start repeating. So if we paint this side of the mountain real quick and then click on this, and then click on this, and just do a quick painting, you can see that there are no repeating tiles. And essentially you can do the same thing down here. So we have 2 and 2, and then we have 4 and 4, so I'm going to change this to 7 and 7, and I'm just going to paint over real quickly, like so, and then I'm going to click on this one. This one's 2 and 2, and this one is 5 and 5, so let's change this one to 11 and 11, and then I'm just going to paint real quickly. So that, as you can see, I mean, I've almost completely gotten rid of all of the tiling on it just by doing that real fast. You can still see some, but for the most part, you don't even see it. And so I actually want to do that a little bit right here. I'm going to click on this one and just paint that in real fast. Click on this one, paint that in real fast. There we go. Let me go and click on this, and this is where I'm going to start building it up just a little bit. Let me click on this one. I'm going to change this to 5 and 5, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to paint that in, and we actually need a cliff texture for this, so let me go ahead and drag and drop that. This will be set as a 2. Click back on here, and just kind of paint in real lightly. There we go. So we need a cliff normals for this one, and then this is 5 and 5, this is 2 and 2, so I'm actually going to make this a 11 and 11. There we go. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. So let me just come in here, click back on this one, paint in here, click back on this one. I think I'm going to click on this, and let me go ahead and do the Rocky Albedo for that. I'm going to say 7 and 7. Now I'm just going to paint real lightly on this. Come on. Stupid Unity. I think he's wanting to click. There you go. No! Yep, missed one. There we go. Okie dokie. I'm going to bring some of the cliff normals out just a little bit more. Probably right here as well. Okay, so now we're at the part where we need to transition this into sand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my brush size to 20. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So now I need to change the opacity to about 20. I'm just going to quickly paint in right here. There we go. So you can definitely see a real sharp transition right there. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of smooth, but it's not what we want. So I'm going to change this down to 5. And I'm going to change my brush size to 10. And now I'm going to start painting right here. I'm just going to paint right along this seam. I'm not trying to do too much. You still want some of this kind of showing through. So So all I'm doing is just a few clicks here and there, and that's it. So there we go. Now, this doesn't look too terribly bad, but you can definitely see some shininess. So I'm actually going to click on this, and here's what we're going to do. Let's see. Which one? Here we go. Bring this down just a little bit. There we go. That one looks good. Okie dokie. So those look good. So the reason why we're getting this is because of our normal depth. If we come in here, let's see, which one are you? Actually, I don't see it in here, to be honest with you. I don't think that's it. No, that's definitely not it. I'm like, it is affecting it a little bit, but that's not our issue. Our issue is probably coming down to the smoothness of it. There we go. So we'll crank the smoothness up on all of these, on all the grass anyways, to 799 or around there. There we go. That looks a lot better. So we actually need to come in here and do the same thing. Let's see, I think it's the sand. Crank that up just a little bit. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to bring this down. So Unreal actually uses what's called roughness. That's what it is. Okay, I'm going to change that so that way it adds a little bit. Yeah, that might be too much. Let me go ahead and make it 1.2. Make it 0.7. There we go. And then for this, so you don't want to make this too high. There we go. So let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. And see, I was afraid of that too, so I guess I'm going to have to crank all this back down. Because you definitely don't want it too smooth, and we'll actually be hiding a lot of this later on as we start painting. I do want a little bit smooth because there will be some reflection coming off of the grass, just not too much. I actually want to add a little bit more of the cliff sides to this. Let me go ahead and crank up my brush to 20. There we go. So now is what I want to do, because most mountains may have a snow cap. I don't know if we have snow in here, and we do not. Okay, that's fine. This should work anyways. They do have assets for snow, but I'm not going to go in there and mess with that. Okay, so now we get to create trees. You can create full grass first. That is completely fine and completely up to you. I'm going to go ahead and start with trees just because lol. So, tree height we're going to keep random. And we're basically going to keep all these default, and we'll start editing these after we start placing trees. But let's go ahead and click on Edit Trees. We're going to Add Tree. And we're going to click on this little guy. Now, I know Standard Assets does have tree. Okay, I thought they did. It's making me lie. Yeah, see, they do have trees. So we have one tree in. We'll click on Add. We'll click on Edit Trees. We're going to add another one. Broadleaf. Click on Add. Click on Edit Trees. Add. Click up here. And then here's another broadleaf, so let's click on Add. And they should also have a palm tree, I believe. Let's see, where are you at? You know, I guess I could have just typed it in. Yeah, palm tree. There we go. Okay, and we'll click on Add. Palm trees we're going to place. That is way too many. So I'm going to crank the tree density down to 45. I'll place those right about there. There we go. I'm going to place one more right here. And so that actually doesn't look too terribly bad. And so now is what we need to do is come up here. Oops. Okay, so right here we're going to place some trees. I'm not going to have too many trees on this. I'm not going to lie. Brush strength, there we go. I just want maybe a couple of them. Just something to give you an idea. Come back over here and click on this. And throw a couple of them right here. So now we get to click right here. I'm going to put in a few of these. Wait a minute, this is the forest, so you know what? I'm just going to crank these numbers way up. Increase the brush size. There. There we go. That looks more like a forest. Okay, brush size needs to be a lot smaller now, because now I just want basically trees that go around this. And I'm going to click on broadleaf and just kind of throw those in there. And maybe a few of these. There we go. And so, I honestly don't even know if you'd be able to get through this. Yeah, no, probably not. Go ahead and up the brush size. And I'm going to lower down the target strength. Okay, you know what? Screw it. There we go. I'm going to do the same over here. And we're just going to create a few. I'm not going to do anything too terribly crazy. There we go. Oh, missed one. Okay, there we go. So, now we have that in place. The only thing is that these are actually not moving. And, you know, that's cool and all, but, you know, it's not really what we're going after. So, what we want to do is create component physics. We're going to come... No, it's not physics. It is... Is it physics? No. It's not terrain collider. I'm trying to remember what it is. Maybe it's under effects. Nope, not effects. There's actually a... It's not occlusion area. Ye bastard! Wind zone. Here we go. Is it wind zone? Let's see. I have to look it up. Unity. Let's see. Wind zones. Oh, it is a wind zone. Okay. So, let me come here to... Let's see. Is it miscellaneous? Wind zone. Oh. Jolly good. And does this one contain a wind zone? Component, misc, wind zone. It does now. Miscellaneous and wind zone. Okay, so you're probably wondering what that does. If you come down here and let's just edit the crap out of these. And hit play. We need to move our camera in position. Or actually, no we don't. It'll do it. That's what the wind zones do. So because these are up here, you can see that these are definitely more affected. Actually, the wind zones might actually be... I'm going to turn this one off. I'm going to turn that one off. We might actually have all of them affected by the wind zone. There is my wind zone component. It is down there. Yep, it is down there. But that is okay. But that's what the wind zones do. That's actually way too strong. Change this to 0.1. That should slow it down considerably. So normally is what I would do with a wind zone is I would actually start really modifying it live and then just kind of copy the component. So if we come up here to component, crap. Component, wind zone. So the wind zone right here is what I would do. Okay, so the wind zone right here is what I would do, is come in here and create it right here. And this way I can actually kind of like move it up. And I can actually change it to spherical. Now the nice thing about having a spherical wind zone is if you modify it, so let's say I move it right here, you can see that these trees right here are getting edited by the wind zone. The closer you get, the stronger it's going to be. And so that would actually be way better to have for a mountaintop, and then just duplicate it, move it down over here, and I'm actually going to greatly increase the radius right down here. But for this one, I'm actually going to make it a lot weaker. And so if I were to say 0.5, you can see that this is going to be a lot calmer down here than it is, say, up here. So I'm going to stop playing for a second. There we go. And I'm just going to select all of these. I'm actually going to remove the wind zone and do it correctly. And so let me go ahead and create an empty game object, and we're going to call this mount wind. And then let me go into component miscellaneous wind zone, and then I'm just going to move this up here on top of the mountain. There we go. And we're going to change this to spherical. And we're going to keep the radius, and we may go ahead and increase the radius. I'm going to go ahead and increase it. I'm going to leave it as default values, but I'm going to duplicate it. I'm just going to move it right here to the middle, and I'm going to just scale the crap out of it. So this way it'll actually edit all of the terrain. And we're going to put this at 0.2, and then I'm actually going to create another, or wait, this will be static wind, and then we're going to create one more Control D, and this would be like storm wind. So let me go ahead and change the size down a little bit, and this will be a 2, and I'm just going to move it off to the side like this. So now when we hit play, if you were to attach a script to this that would instantiate these, then is what you could do is you could just have these come through here like so. And I don't know if you can really even see this, but as these come through, you can see that these actually start blowing these trees around. Then as it like passes through, they start kind of like slowing down. So now if this has been moved through here, I'm just going to move it off, and you can see that these now slow back down. That would be the point of creating something like, something like that. So now's what we need to do is we're actually going to come in here and we're going to start painting grass. This is one of those things that, it really helps to have this painted first, but you know what? I live life dangerously. I do not want a new brush. Instead, is what I want to do is I want to come in here and edit the details and add grass texture. So I'm going to click on this, and let's see where you eat. Okay, you know what? Screw you too, Unity. Grass. Here we go. So we're going to type in. We're going to have grass front right here. One thing I do want to do is I'm just going to come in here. You know what? For now, we're just going to add it, and then I'm going to paint it. So the reason why I have done that is because this way we can come up here and edit details and edit, and we can actually change the details on the fly. So if we just look at one of these, come in here and let's say, you know what? I want darker grass. You can do that real easily. And so, come up here, min width. I'm actually going to keep the widths the same, but the height I'm going to change. So the min height is going to be 0.5, and the max height will be a 1. And I'm going to hit apply. And I'm going to delete some of the grass. I'm going to change my brush size. I know you don't see me painting grass, but I promise the grass is there. All I'm doing is just single clicking. I am not clicking and dragging. So you can't see them because of the distance renderer, but if you look in here, it's definitely all there. If you want extra grass, basically you can always download some. All you need to do is just type in grass texture. In fact, let me go ahead and show you this real quick. So I'm just going to type in grass sprite texture and click on images, and you'll find them all over the place. The biggest thing is, like, if I click on this image and I right click and hit save image as, you see how that's a JPEG? That won't work. You cannot use that. But if I click on this one and save the image, you'll see that this is a PNG. You can definitely use that one. From there is what you would do is you'd come back in here into Unity and you would right click, show and explore, and let me go ahead and minimize this. Make sure you're in your proper folder. So I'm actually going to create a new folder called grass text, and I'm going to select these right here. I'm just going to move them in here real quick. There we go. So let me this is a copy and that's a copy. Let me go ahead and delete those. And now I will select these. I'm going to drag these in here. There we go. And so now I have these 4 grass pieces right here. I will now come back into Unity. And let me go and just click on one of these terrains. I'm going to add grass texture. And let me just type in grass. And so we have this one right here that we can do. We'll hit add grass textures, type in grass again. I'm going to add this one, and this one you will see, it doesn't look too terribly bad. So I'm going to change the opacity of this down to 0.1 as well as the target strength 0.75. And so when I click on this, it just adds a little bit. I'm not going to go too crazy. I say that now, and I start going crazy. There we go. So if we were to hit play on this, you know what? I'm probably going to go ahead and add Ethan in here just so he can walk around. You can kind of see what it's looking like so far. So let me go characters, third person. You know what? Screw that. First person. Prefabs. FPS controller. Let me move this up and hit play. And this way you can see it inside the game window once it actually plays. So there we go. So now I can kind of like walk through here, and you can kind of see how good the grass is looking. Even has wind zones and everything like that attached to it. You have to do wind zones for the trees. You do not have to do it for the grass. That's actually edited inside the terrain. But you can kind of come through here, you can look at it, and you can see that everything actually has a pretty good amount of detail. It's not too terribly bad. Next part we're going to talk about is water, because right now, that right there, that gaping hole does not look right. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, there we go. So we're just going to type in, or actually instead of typing it in, it should be inside of our environment. So we're going to type in there. I keep saying type in, we're not typing it in. Let's just go into prefabs. That's not the one I wanted. Maybe it's water 4. Yes, this is what I want. Okay, there we go. I'm actually going to move this a little. Come on. New. I want water. Water 4 advanced. There we go. I'm going to move this over just a little bit like so. I'm also going to frame in on it, so this way it's a little easier to work with. I'm just going to lift this up. Need to move this further over, right about there. Then I'm going to hold down Control and press D. I'm going to move this over here. And I actually need to make it slightly larger, so let me go ahead and... Oh, wrong one. Let's see. I'm looking for the proper scaling, because I don't just want to scale this. I don't think it works with this tiling. Oh, it does work with tiling. Well, ain't that convenient. Okie dokie. There we go. Awesome. So, if we hit play, let me go ahead and maximize my window over here. if we hit play and we walk up to that area, which you can kind of see it through the trees, we have our reflections. And if we look through here, you can see that it actually has, I'm trying to think, it actually like makes underneath kind of wonky. The only thing is when you go underneath, come on, it doesn't really have that effect. I'm like, it does block it all out, and you could change those settings, but I'm not going to talk about this video because you've already been watching this for an hour. That will actually be saved for part 2. So I will see you there, and this is where we'll start editing lighting and reflections and things like that.